We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
The word crisis is used often in media circles. It signifies a problem, but not yet a disaster. Yet, would it be a step too far to say that President Biden is now dealing with an actual disaster at the southern border? We have thousands of Haitians, some being sent to cities in the US, others being packed on planes and sent homewards. The situation appears as out of control as it could possibly get. But there are zero practical solutions on offer from the administration. Liberty Nation columnist Sarah Cowgill has been following the threads of this burgeoning humanitarian catastrophe, and she's here today to help us figure out what's really going on and where we're headed. Welcome back to the show, Sarah. Thanks for being here.
And thanks for having me, Mark. It's always good to be around.
So what's the situation on the border, Sarah? Am I right in thinking that despite Joe Biden sending Haitians back to Haiti, many more are actually just being released into the United States with a note asking them to appear before a judge?
Yes, and they won't. No, nobody in their right mind is going to just sit around and wait to go to court and then get deported. If I was an immigrant trying to come in here, I certainly wouldn't. I'd go, okay, I'll see you there and see you later. There's plenty of places that you can go and disappear in this country, just like anywhere else. And this is a crisis, catastrophe, disaster completely created in 8 months by this administration, maybe a few more than 8 months, because they campaigned on this and they brought all these people to the border. And now they're just saying, well, we're not letting you in. So get on a plane and, get your happy butt back to Haiti. It's harder to do with Central and South Americans, but it's really easy to get rid of the Haitians if they so choose to. That's what we're seeing now, and it's a mess. The photos in Del Rio, Texas, are disturbing at best.
Yeah, I mean, this really isn't a sustainable situation. The government's own figures admit that at least 1/3 of the people, as you say, don't turn up, and that figure is likely much higher. That 1/3 figure is just that they've responded to a phone call or an outreach. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're turning up for the day in court. So is the administration, are they looking at this as a problem not for today Joe Biden, but for tomorrow Joe Biden, who can figure out his own problems?
Oh, it's not going to be any kind of a tomorrow for Joe Biden. It's going to be a tomorrow for the vice president. She will take over at a certain point, and unless I can't read politics tea leaves anymore, she will take over before this first term is over, for whatever reason. I mean, you've got Democrats already, looking into investigating their own president, which that doesn't happen very often. Although politics has gotten a little bit weird in the last decade. But, he's not going to survive this. He's not going to survive Afghanistan. He's not going to survive the border. He's not going to survive what people are calling Bidenflation. It's just a mess right now. And he wanted this mess. He's got this mess. And he's going to get out of it before he owns it outright. And give it away. So basically, they're going to kick the can on immigration, especially on immigration, down the road. They're going to continue to blame the previous administrations who put some of these things in place. And they're just saying, well, we're just following those laws. So, no, you're the president. You can fix this if you wanted to.
Yeah, putting the optics to one side, and there's a real humanitarian aspect to this moment. And now, clearly, the situation down in Texas, it's horrendous. There's poor conditions, which are ripe with criminal trafficking, and that includes children, young women. And that's just where the spotlight is shining in Texas. But what about the rest of the border? Is this something that's being repeated for the whole length?
Oh, sure. Just not to this extreme. It's what they call the boot heel. Wow, that was tough. The boot heel of New Mexico. And there's a spot in there in Sunland Park and those little areas. And I do have a good friend down on the border who has a ranch down there. And it's a daily barrage of people coming through his property because there's holes in the wall. They're sitting there trying to figure out how to plug the holes to keep people out. So that's my assessment of the southern border.
Well, I have to say, there's somebody who completely disagrees with your assessment there, Miss Sarah Cowgill. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he said that the border is closed, the border is secure.
No, it has been secure for probably 15 years. Well, when I lived in New Mexico and when I lived in Arizona, we didn't have a migration problem like this. But you could obviously realize you would, hire people to do different jobs, and they were hardworking people, and then they just disappear. It's like, where'd they go? But when you have hundreds of thousands of people coming through, you can't look the other way. It's just insane. So I would go head to head with Mayorkas if he would like to. Just because he says it's true doesn't mean it's true.
I'll admit that when I heard that, I was watching actual video footage of folks coming across the border, and I did nearly lose my coffee all over the computer screen. Quite how he can say that with a straight face. And the fact that the media aren't calling him out on it. Now, surely this is an abdication of responsibility from the fourth estate.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They're supposed to uncover and, shine the light on things that are going on that are wrong. And this is wrong. And he is wrong. And if he would visit the border, maybe he'd find out how wrong he is. I don't see them calling him out yet. But then again, they're starting to report on the little grumblings going on within the Democratic Party itself. So if they're starting to pick up on that and they're starting to promote that, they will eventually pick up on this guy and, say, well, we didn't have this problem until this year. I mean, it's just a simple fact. This is so grossly inappropriate for this administration to blow this off.
Interesting point you bring up there, Sarah. So what are the remedies? I mean, how does the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas, how do they come back from this? How do they get a grip on the uncontrolled illegal immigration that's at record highs? That's 1.7 million in the last 12 months. Now, that's just encounters, I might add. That's not including the people who they haven't encountered, or who they haven't arrested or detained or spoken with. So do they kick this into the long grass?
They
How
have
do they deal
to.
with it?
They can't fix this unless they take a hard stance. And in taking a hard stance, then half of the Democratic base is going to be ticked off. You get the progressives just saying, open it all up. Oh my God, let them all in. You can't do that. I mean, most nations are a nation of borders and rules and regulations, and you cannot just open the door. And the Biden administration knows full well they cannot open the door. So they're just putting a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery at this point. And they're just going to wait until they can pawn it off on somebody else. How they do that waiting period without getting in hot water, and I think they're already dipping their toe in the hottest water ever, because the media is starting to take photos. I mean, when you have to declare, a no drone zone and force people from trying to report on a situation, that speaks volumes of what this administration will go to prove there's not a problem. There's a problem.
We've seen this before. There was the kids in cages, and then that stopped. Although it didn't stop, what there was no more photos of kids in cages. And
Exactly.
then there was migrants under the bridges in Texas. And then, of course, there were no migrants under the bridge in Texas.
There's no migrants.
No,
we don't
there
have
were
a
no more
problem.
photos of migrants under the bridge in Texas.
Exactly.
Sarah
Exactly.
Cowgill, thank you ever so much for being here.
Thank you, Mark.
Right after this short break, we're talking liberty with Scott Cosenza. Abortion and freedom of religion without political persecution are on the docket in the Supreme Court. What's happening and how will it play out? Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.